Hello everyone. Today we will talk about principle of chromatography. Chromatography is a very common technique which is used to analyze different samples ranging from small molecular weight compounds to very large biomacromolecules. And the purpose of chromatography could be analytical, where chemical composition of a compound or chemical composition of a sample can be determined using chromatography, or it could be preparative. Preparative means some or more component from a mixture of sample can be purified using chromatographic technique. It is also used to check purity of the sample, whether sample contain any kind of adulteration or mixing of some other compounds. That can be tested using chromatography. And of course, compounds can be purified using chromatography technique. In this lecture, we will talk about theory of chromatography, retention time of analytes, retention factor, analyte selectivity by stationary phase, resolution of peaks, different types of chromatographic techniques, and component of a typical chromatography system. Chromatography was invented, the term was given by M. Sweat, who was a Russian-Polish botanist. He was working on plant leaf pigments, and he made extract of plant leaf in ether, and that leaf extract in ether he loaded on a column containing chalk, that is calcium carbonate, and then he added more ether on the top after loading sample, and eventually he could see that in that column of calcium carbonate the leaf pigments were separated using and which were visible in different colors, and he gave this name chromatography. Means separation of colors, analysis of colors. But today there are many variants of chromatography, and not only colored compound but all kind of compounds, they can be analyzed, they can be studied using chromatography technique. The principle of chromatography can be understood by flow of water in a river. For example, you have a river where water is flowing in this direction, and you put a mixture of some compound, some weight. One is say lightweight, other one is heavyweight. So when you keep them together, you will see at a given time the lightweight moves faster in comparison to the heavyweight. Heavyweight settle down and it makes interaction with base of the river, whereas lightweight is more happy with the water, so water take it further. So that's how these two heavy and lightweight can be separated by flow of water. The similar is the principle of chromatography as well. In chromatography, this water in river is called mobile phase, whereas this base of river, it forms a stationary phase of a chromatography system. And basically this, we also can say that in this analogy, the heavyweight, it forms attractive interaction with the base. So this mobility of heavyweight is restrained in a river. Similarly, we also can state that lightweight is more happy with water, so water take it away along with itself, and that's how these two weights can be separated by flow of water. Though similarly, in case of chromatography, you have a stationary phase which is packed in a column, for example here, and when you load sample on the top of the column, the sample will diffuse into stationary phase, then you add more mobile phase from the top. Now this mobile phase will take the samples across this stationary phase. So during this traveling of sample analytes in a stationary phase, depending on differential interactions of analyte, these analytes get separated. For example, here there are two analytes. We have got separation of two analytes. One is which is traveling faster, the red color, and the blue color, which is traveling lesser in the column. So it simply means the interaction of light color analyte is stronger with the stationary phase in comparison to mobile phase. That's why the mobility of the blue color is restrained whereas the red color is moving faster. That is because it makes lesser interaction, weaker interaction with the stationary phase. So mobile phase take red color analyte further, and that's how these analytes can be eluted out from the column. They can be collected separately, and that's how these two analytes can be purified and can be separated from each other in a chromatography system. So basically this is interaction of analytes with the stationary phase, which decide separation of the compounds from the mixture. The function of mobile phase is only to take analytes across stationary phase so that stationary phase is available to interact differentially with the mixture of analytes, and analyte which makes stronger interaction, that is withheld by stationary phase, so it moves slowly, whereas another analyte which doesn't make much interaction with the stationary phase, or is weakly interacting to the stationary phase, that moves faster, that comes out quickly from the column. So there are three components of a chromatography setup. One is stationary phase, which basically interacts with the analytes. It could be solid, could be gel, or solid liquid. Then the second component is mobile phase. Mobile phase is a solvent that flows through the supporting medium, that flows through the stationary phase. So it takes analyte along with it across stationary phase, so that interaction between analytes and stationary phase can occur. Then you have a supporting medium. In supporting medium, for example, in a column chromatography, the glass column or a metal column is used. So that metal and glass column, they form supporting medium. Similarly, in case of paper chromatography, or in case of TLC, the glass plate, that forms supporting medium for chromatography system. This chromatography can be characterized using different properties. For example, based on support material, there are three types of chromatography. One is called packed bed chromatography or column chromatography, where stationary phase is uniformly packed into a column. Or it could be open tubular chromatography, where you have open tubes and stationary phase is coated on the inner wall of the tube, and that forms a matrix for a chromatography system. Or it could be open bed chromatography or planar chromatography, for example like paper chromatography or thin layer chromatography, where stationary phase is not closed into a system, but this is open, exposed outside. Even there is a general classification also based on the type of mobile phase. If mobile phase is liquid, this is called liquid chromatography. There are many variants of these: ion exchange, size exclusion, and so on. Then if mobile phase is gas, this is called gas chromatography. And if mobile phase is a supercritical fluid, this is called supercritical fluid chromatography. So generally in this case, carbon dioxide is taken above critical temperature and pressure, and that behaves like a liquid as well as gas together simultaneously. So that's what is used as a mobile phase in supercritical fluid chromatography. Chromatography has wide applications in almost all the disciplines, in food to check food additives or to check food spoilage, in forensic science, proteomics, metabolomics, in molecular biology to purify nucleic acids or to purify proteins, in forensic pathology, pharmaceutics, clinical testing, environmental science. Almost everywhere you have applications of chromatography. So in the basic principle of chromatography is differential interaction of analytes with the stationary phase. So when you load mixture of analyte on the top of a column which is packed with a suitable stationary phase, these analytes, they diffuse inside, and after diffusion they start interacting with the stationary phase. So depending on their interaction, they get eluted out from the column. The analyte which make stronger interaction, that is withheld by the column that comes later, and the analyte which does not interact at all or weakly interact with the stationary phase, that comes out faster. And these coming out analyte, they can be measured, they can be detected using spectroscopy technique, and then eventually you get separation of these analytes in form of peaks. For example, here there are two analytes A and B, and A makes weaker interaction with the stationary phase, so that comes faster, and B forms some interaction with the stationary phase, so that comes later. So that's how analytes are separated using a chromatography system. The principle of chromatography is based on a distribution coefficient. So when the sample is loaded on the top of the chromatography, the sample start diffusing and start equilibrating in the matrix in the stationary phase until you get same concentration. For example, if you loaded 100 molecules of analytes here, so these diffusion would start, and it will keep diffusing until equilibrium is reached. So you have 50 molecule in mobile phase and 50 into stationary phase. In fact, the portion of a column, a stationary phase where diffusion occurs, that's called plate. So every column in a chromatography system is made up of a number of plates. These plates are decided by the diffusion coefficient of analytes in the stationary phase. So generally in a column you have 50,000 to 100,000 plates. So then it will diffuse to the next plate and so on. So that's how the analyte start diffusing across the stationary phase, and eventually it is separated from one another. So the effective distribution coefficient, capital KD, of analytes would be equal to mass of the analyte in stationary phase divided by mass of the analyte in mobile phase. That is also equal to diffusion coefficient small kd into Vs upon Vm, where Vs is volume of stationary phase divided by volume of mobile phase. Now let's think of a column where you have loaded two analytes, and one analyte form interaction with the stationary phase, and other analyte, it does not interact at all with the stationary phase. So in that situation, both the analytes will travel across the column, and the analyte which does not interact with the stationary phase will come out faster. So that will be collected in term of peak, and this is the peak for analyte which does not interact with the stationary phase. So then after this, the another analyte which make interaction with the stationary phase, that will come out in form of another peak. And these analytes coming out from the column, they can be collected either in term of time or in term of volume. So when they are collected in term of time and they are plotted in a graph, that is called chromatogram. So a chromatogram is a pictorial record of the detector response as a function of elution volume or retention time. So you have got two peaks here, one peak of the analyte which is not retained by the column, which does not interact with the stationary phase at all, and another peak for the analyte which does make interactions with the stationary phase. So in this graph we can see that the time taken by both the analytes is different. So this time taken by an analyte to come out from a stationary phase is called retention time for that analyte. So for example, for this peak, the retention time is TR, which is from beginning of the chromatography column and where you get maximum concentration of that analyte eluted out of the column. So that time taken by the analyte in stationary phase is called retention time. TR is represented by TR. Then the time taken by a non-retained analyte. Non-retained analyte means the analyte which does not interact. So that time from beginning is called TM, is also is a dead time, or in term of when you collect in term of volume, fractions you collect in term of volume, this is called void volume also. So TM is the dead time, which is time taken by a non-interacting analyte with the stationary phase. And there is something called adjusted retention time, which means the extra time an analyte takes in comparison to non-retained analyte. So this time, this is the peak for non-retained analyte. So this extra time is called TR prime, that is equal to adjusted retention time, and that is TR minus TM. So TR minus TM, if you reduce this TM dead time from retention time of an analyte, this is called adjusted retention time of that analyte. Now the retention factor, the additional time an analyte takes in a column relative to the unretained analyte. So for example, here you have two analytes which are eluted out of the column. These make differential interaction. This analyte, for example, we can call it A analyte. It makes a weaker interaction with the stationary phase, so it comes earlier. Whereas B analyte, this forms stronger interaction, so that take more time to come out of the column. And similarly, for the TM for this system is the time taken by non-retained analyte. So in this situation, the retention factor of an analyte is equal to adjusted retention time of that analyte divided by TM, the dead time. So you can write it like this. K is equal to TR minus TM, that is equal to adjusted retention time divided by dead time TM. So that will give you a value of retention factor for that analyte. So if an analyte spend equal time in both stationary phase and mobile phase, in that situation the TR of that analyte would be equal to TM plus TM, because TM basically represent that time that also is the time spent by the analyte only in the mobile phase. So it does not interact with the stationary phase, so it does not spend any time in the stationary phase. So that's why if an analyte spend equal time in both stationary phase and mobile phase, the retention time of that analyte is equal to 2TM, TM plus TM, and in that case the retention factor for that analyte would be equal to 1. Similarly, if an analyte spend 4 times in stationary phase than in mobile phase, in that situation TR would be equal to TM plus 4TM is equal to 5TM, and K would be 4 in that case. So K is basically distribution coefficient of that analyte. So it gives you an idea about the value of distribution coefficient of that analyte into the given stationary phase. So we can write that K is equal to TR prime upon TM, adjusted retention time upon dead time, and because it's a diffusion coefficient, distribution coefficient, so in that way it would be also equal to ms, mass of the analyte in stationary phase, divided by mass in mobile phase, and in turn that would be equal to Kd, diffusion coefficient, into volume of stationary phase divided by volume of mobile phase. And the Vs upon Vm, the stationary phase, volume of stationary phase and volume of mobile phase, is a fixed value, is a column property. It depends on how long column you have prepared, how much stationary phase has been packed into a column. So that's why it's a column property which is fixed. It can be called as beta, is a volumetric phase ratio, actually the ratio of stationary phase divided by mobile phase. So we can say that distribution coefficient K would be equal to Kd into beta. So beta is volumetric phase ratio, which is constant. So Kd would depend, the K would depend on Kd. So distribution of analyte in a stationary phase would depend on diffusion coefficient of the analyte into the given stationary phase. So the value of K would be increased if Kd is increased, and Kd can be increased only by changing nature of stationary phase, or it can be increased if Vs is increased. Vs is volume of stationary phase. If stationary phase is packed more, in that situation also the value of K will increase. Generally it ranges from 1 to 10, and the value of K represent actually behavior of analytes in a chromatography system. So how analytes interact with the stationary phase, that is basically measured in term of K. So this also reflects selectivity of system. Selectivity of system means a stationary phase, how much it select out of mixture of analytes depending on their differential interactions. So that's how a stationary phase discriminate between different analytes based on their interaction with the stationary phase. So we also can say that this K retention factor is basically, it compares different analytes. So if you compare retention factor of two analytes, you can compare their relative selectivity alpha. So alpha is equal to retention factor of A. For example, there are two analytes A and B under consideration. So if their retention factors are available, the ratio of Ka and Kb is basically relative selectivity of those analytes in a given stationary phase, and that is also equal to diffusion coefficient Kd A, diffusion coefficient A divided by diffusion coefficient of B, and in turn we have seen that it is also would be equal to adjusted retention time of A divided by adjusted retention time of B. Now the plate height, a column, chromatography column is made up of different number of plates, and these plates are basically one where diffusion of analytes occurs. So, and this height of the plate is represented by H, and the column height can be represented by L. So the H, the height of a plate, is equal to sigma square upon X, where sigma square is deviation, is standard deviation of the peak, because when you collect a chromatogram is collected in terms of peaks. So the deviation of the peak is sigma here, and X is the distance traveled by analyte in the column. The value of X could be equal to L, because you have packed L centimeter length of the column. So in that case, the n number of plates in a column, n can be calculated. N is equal to length of the column divided by plate height. So that also in turn equal to Lx upon sigma square, because H is equal to sigma square deviation upon the distance traveled X. So Lx upon sigma square is the number of plates in a given column, and because for a Gaussian peak the deviation is 1/4, so in that situation n is equal to L square, and because X is equal to L here, because this is the distance traveled by analyte is equal to length of the column, so you can say that n is equal to L square upon sigma square, and sigma the deviation is 1/4 of L, so in that way it can be said that n is equal to 16 L square divided by peak width. Peak width is W here. So peak width means this distance. So this is peak width. So if peak width is available, length of the column is available, the number of plates in a given chromatographic system in a column can be calculated, and this also can be converted in terms of retention time, because the length spent by analyte in a column is also equal to retention time of that analyte. So it can be converted into retention time. So n is equal to 16 into TR retention time divided by W whole square. So W is again the peak width here. And generally in case of measuring peak width, the calculation of peak width at half maxima, this is represented by W half, give you more accurate calculations. So if instead of W half is taken, in that way the number of plates in a column would be equal to 5.54 into TR upon W half whole square. So that's how number of plates in a column can be calculated. So number of plates have a significant effect on resolution of analytes in a given chromatography system, because when you have number of plates less, the peak sharpness is not there. For example, if there are 10 and number of 10 plates in a column, the peak will be very wide, so resolution will be very poor. Whereas when you increase number of plates in a column, or you pack a longer column, in that case the peak sharpness is there. So the peak is very sharp when you have more number of plates in a given chromatographic column. So that also help to get better resolution. So resolution is basically separation of peaks. So when you have say there are two analytes, and when they travel in the column across the stationary phase, they get distant from each other. So how much distant two analytes are from each other, that is measured in terms of resolution. The success of a chromatographic separation is judged by the ability of the system to resolve one analyte peak from another. And the best way to check it, just look at the peaks. If they are well separated, it means this is a successful chromatographic system. For example, if they are well separated peak, you can visualize it, but instead of visualizing, the resolution can be calculated in terms of some numbers. So for example, if there is a resolution between two peaks, the two analytes, the RS is represented by RS. So resolution RS is equal to delta TR divided by W average. W is the peak width. So if you have this W, so if you have retention time of both the analytes, both the peaks available, so the difference of retention time can be divided by average peak width of both the analytes. So that will give you resolution, and that is also equal to 2 TRA minus TRB divided by peak width of A analyte plus peak width of B analyte. And that also can be converted into peak width at half maxima, W half, that is equal to 0.589 delta TR upon W half average. So average of peak width at half maxima will be taken here. So in fact, resolution can also be calculated from number of plates in a chromatographic system. So RS is equal to under root n, where n is number of plates in a chromatographic system, divided by 4 into alpha minus 1 upon alpha. So alpha is relative selectivity. If alpha is available, then you can use this formula to calculate resolution of two analytes in a given chromatography system. So that into K2 divided by 1 plus K average. So K2 is the longest retained peak, and K average is average of retention factor of both the peaks. So K2 is the retention factor of longest retained peak here. So that's how resolution can be calculated, and based on those the value of RS, it can be judged whether the peaks are resolved well or not. For example, if the value of RS is 0.75, that simply means there is a overlap into the peak. So the peak chromatogram would be like this. So in this way, these A and B peak, they are not well resolved, they are overlapping, there is a mixing. So it means that system is not efficient, is not capable of separating these two analytes. Similarly, if RS value is 1.0, in that case the separation is 97.7%. Still there is 2.3% overlap between these two peaks when you have RS value of 1.0, and if RS value is 1.5, in that case you have 99.8% separation. So generally if RS value is 1, it can be taken as a efficient system to separate two analytes, but if it's more than 1, is always better. So just based on the value of RS, the resolution, you can state whether two analytes are being separated in a chromatographic system or not. If RS value is more than 1, it means the system is capable of resolving two analytes well. Otherwise, if it's less than 1, the separation is not good, is not proper, resolution is weak, is compromised. So there are many factors which affect resolution. The plate height, The smaller the plate height, better the resolution. Diffusion coefficient. In fact, diffusion coefficient of the analyte, how distinct it is from one another. The number of plates, if there are more number of plates, that help in resolution, to attain better resolution. The column height, if height is more, that also help to gain resolution. If flow rate is high, that also increase resolution of analytes. And of course, nature of mobile and stationary phase also affect resolution of analytes in a given chromatography system. Then peak spreading. Generally, the peak spreading occurs when you collect fractions in a chromatography system. The peak is not very sharp. Initially, you have loaded sample, but as these analytes travel across stationary phase, the peak become broader. So this broadening can occur because of different reasons, like a process that leads to peak broadening due to the presence of multiple flow paths through a packed column is called eddy diffusion, because in a stationary phase analyte, the molecule of same analyte, they don't travel into the same path. Some analyte, they travel the path which is shorter. Other analytes which use a longer path to travel across the stationary phase. So as a result, all the molecules of single analyte, they do not come out of the column at the same time. So that's why there is some time gap between different molecules of same analyte, and that give rise to broadening of the peak. So this is called eddy diffusion. Then another reason is mobile phase mass transfer, a process of peak broadening caused by the presence of different flow profile within channels or between particle of the support in the column. So you have stationary phase particle here and here. The analytes, when it travel between these particles through channels, so in that way the analyte which is in close to this stationary phase, it travels slower in comparison to the analyte which is at the middle. So the analyte traveling in the middle will reach column end faster in comparison to the analyte which is in contact with the stationary phase. So analytes in the center of the channel moves more quickly than analyte at the edge. It will tend to reach the end of the channel first, leading to peak broadening. So it will reach first, and that because it will create a time gap between different molecules of the same analyte, that will lead to peak broadening. And the degree of peak broadening due to eddy diffusion and mobile phase mass transfer, it mainly depends on the size of the packing material, the stationary phase, and diffusion rate of the solute. If diffusion rate is high, in that case the differential diffusion rate will decide the peak broadening. Another reason for peak broadening is stagnant mobile phase and stationary phase mass transfer. So in this the peak broadening due to differences in the rate of diffusion of solute molecule or analyte molecules between the mobile phase outside the pore of the support to the mobile phase leads to peak broadening. So for example, this is stationary phase and it is porous in nature. So solute molecule, the analyte molecule which enter into these pores, there the relative mobility of mobile phase is different. The mobile phase is moving slow in case of these pores. So whereas the mobile phase going outside the pore, it moves faster. So that will create difference in reaching time of the molecules to the end of the column, and that will also responsible for peak broadening. And the degree of peak broadening due to stagnant mobile phase mass transfer depends on the size, shape and pore structure of the packing material, the diffusion and retention of the solute, the flow rate of the analyte through the column. So higher the flow rate, lesser the peak broadening, and lesser the peak broadening means better the resolution also. Then the another factor is longitudinal diffusion. The peak broadening due to the diffusion of the analyte along the length of the column in the flowing mobile phase leads to peak broadening. So for example, here this entry point of all the analytes, and entry point they are all together, but as they cross the column they reach end of the column. In that way some analytes they move faster. Generally the analytes which are in the middle, they will move faster, in comparison to the analyte which are on the edge. So the degree of band broadening due to longitudinal diffusion will depend on diffusion of the solute and flow rate of the solute through the column. If you increase flow rate here, all the molecules will be together and your peak will be very sharp instead of a broader peak. Now the component of a typical chromatographic system. In a chromatography setup, the first thing you have a stationary phase in form of a column. So like in case of column chromatography, so a column is packed with a suitable stationary phase. Then there is a mobile phase which is pushed into the column. So pushing mobile phase into the column, you require a pump, because this pump will suck mobile phase from this solvent and it will push that further to the column. And just before the column, you need to have a sample injector to load your sample. So that is added here just after the pump. And when the analyte, they go through the column and they come out of the column, and when they come out, they are detected by a detector and then collected into a fraction collector. So this fraction collector collect fractions of a given volume, whatever volume you decide based on a chromatography setup, 1 ml, half ml, and so on. So in different fractions are collected, and detector is basically it measure concentration of the analyte coming out from the column. Mostly it use some spectroscopic technique. Absorbance at a given wavelength is taken depending on the analyte coming from the column, and this detector response is sent to a computer, and this computer eventually give a chromatogram in form of different peaks.